Thank you everyone for joining us for today's presentation. We're going to be introducing the Breakthrough Data Protection Appliance. Introduction to your host. This is going to be led by CEO and founder of Infrascale, Ken Shaw, and heading our product management department for the appliance, Stefan Simat.
Thanks, Carla. Alrighty. So, folks, today's agenda is we'll do a little bit of an overview on the current state of the platform. Most of the audience today are existing Infrascale partners, so I won't bore you with a super detailed overview, but we'll just sort of recap where we've gotten to in the progression of building out this platform. We'll then turn to the news of the day, which is the new appliance offerings that we're bringing to market. Stefan will be leading a lot of that conversation. I'll be chiming in as well. We'll then look at how the appliance stacks up against the competitors in the field of appliance vendors. And really, before we even get to that, we'll sort of answer the most obvious question, which is why would a cloud company like Infrascale actually be getting into the appliance business in the first place? From one perspective, it looks like a little bit of a curveball, but there is a rationale behind it. We'll be taking you through that today. Do stay for the end of the webinar. We're going to have a special promotional offer where you can get your hands on the technology we're going to be talking about today. And then, as we like to do from time to time, we are continuing to prop up Amazon.com by giving away a free Kindle. Today, we're giving the Kindle to the person who asks the most questions. So if you haven't already found the question tool in the GoToWebinar software, I'd encourage you to find it now. You can just type your questions in, and it's a 30-minute presentation followed by Q&A at the end, which will go for pretty much as long as there are questions still on the line. So find that tool, ask us questions. It's far more interesting for us when it's an interactive session. I think it's probably more educational for the audience as well, so don't be shy. All right, let's dive in. So a lot of you have probably seen this slide in presentations past. This is the Infrascale overview. What does Infrascale do? We're a cloud data protection platform company. So the key functionality that we've always focused on has been in and around backup, whether that's server backup or endpoint backup or mobile backup. And over the years, we've built out from there so that we've got solutions that are really great for endpoints like laptops. And then we added file sharing capabilities, as most of you know, and then more and more advanced disaster recovery capabilities. Founded in 2006, headquarters here in El Segundo, where we're all sitting. Some by-the-numbers sort of statistics. Today there are 20 billion objects being stored in the Infrascale cloud. We've got more than 1,000 platform partners around the world, mainly in North America. 170 of you have signed up for today's webinar, so that's awesome. More than 1 million PCs, servers, mobile devices protected and connected to the system, 12 data centers around the world. But the real news, and probably what you're most interested in hearing about, is circled in red down the bottom right-hand corner of this slide. We recently had some pretty big news as a company. We both completed our Series B financing. We raised $16.3 million, and we also acquired Eversync, a fantastic little technology company out in Salt Lake City. So today we're going to be talking a lot about what that acquisition means to Infrascale, and most importantly, what it means to you as our partners, both in terms of the products and technology we're going to be able to bring out to you, very soon in the months ahead, and also what it means to your business and how you can drive more revenue from these products. So, plowing on, we're going to see this slide twice in this presentation. I'll talk in greater detail to it towards the end, but this is a graphic that potentially you, our partners, should be using a variant of in your own materials. The idea is that it captures just the complete sort of height and width of the Infrascale data protection platform. So down the left-hand column, we've got all the verbs that you can support with our system: server backup, endpoint backup, data archiving, file sharing, disaster recovery. Then across the bottom, we've got all the different sort of nouns, quote-unquote, or devices that we can do that for, ranging from smartphones on the very left all the way through to more complicated server environments, be it they file servers, email servers, app or database servers. Now, as part of Eversync becoming part of Infrascale, we've then really also added some exciting server data protection capabilities around Linux, around Unix, around VMware. I suspect that's probably some of the most interesting and exciting stuff to the existing partners on the line. So we're going to talk lightly a bit about that today, but encourage you to ask me a ton of questions along that vector. And as I said, we'll expound more on that when we see this slide again towards the end of the presentation. So just a reminder, we've always been committed to cloud. We're a cloud-native company. It wasn't called cloud when we started, but we've always built our technology on the cloud. And when we say cloud, we sort of have this little phrase in-house where we talk about your cloud, our cloud, or any cloud. That means you can use the Infrascale turnkey service, use our global infrastructure grid, or if you're running a private cloud environment, maybe you're running an OpenStack environment, for example, you can send data to that. Or if you're using a third-party cloud, like an Amazon Web Services or a Microsoft Azure, you can send data to that also. And so everything that you see today when it comes to the appliances, it still holds true with this metaphor. We're committed to cloud flexibility. We don't believe in one monolithic cloud. We believe in thousands or tens of thousands of interconnected clouds. And so your cloud, our cloud, any cloud continues to apply. As to does that commitment to double-blind encryption. In the last 12 months, there has been, well, a great light shone on the issue of cloud privacy in particular. Mr. Edward Snowden has helped greatly in sort of getting the public's attention on this issue. And a lot of companies have taken shortcuts when it comes to cloud security. So for those of you who haven't seen this slide before, this compares and contrasts our ultra-safe technology at the top with the way most cloud vendors handle data. So at the bottom, you've got something that maps to, say, a Dropbox or a Carbonite. So raw data on a device goes through a tunnel, which is encrypted, gets to the cloud, and then is encrypted with a key that the vendor knows. So Dropbox knows that key, stores the data. Problem with that is that Dropbox can get access to that data at any time. That could be in response to a subpoena, or far more likely a rogue employee, or God forbid if somebody were to breach Dropbox's systems that have access to anybody's data. We probably all remember a couple of years ago when for 4 hours Dropbox dropped all password authentication. Any user could log into any other user's account. Well, that's bad day for any company. But if you're handling encryption properly, it shouldn't actually lead to the exposure of individual data. So let's contrast that with Infrascale's ultra-safe approach at the top. We take the data, we encrypt the data on the source device with a key only known by you. Then we transfer that pre-encrypted data through a tunnel, again, encrypted with SSL. When it gets to the cloud, we encrypt that data again, putting it inside a second security envelope, if you will, before we finally store it. So what this means is that only you, the original owner and custodian of that data, can get at it. You need your key and you need our key. And so in the industry, this is now starting to be described as double-blind encryption, or a zero-knowledge storage system. We've been doing this for years, and it's now becoming quite popular. A lot of people are talking about it, which is good for you as our partners, because this is something that's been built into your offerings, ever since you joined the Infrascale Partner Program. And I think if you talk to your customers, you'll get a lot more interest on this particular cloud privacy topic than you have in the past. And then one last reminder that the dashboard has really become Infrascale's core product. It sits at the center of everything that we build, sits at the center of everything you do with our products, and that will remain true even with this new appliance line of technology that we're bringing in. So dashboard remains your command center from which you can deploy and provision and manage and back up all of your customers' data. So that is our setup for a discussion of the actual Infrascale appliance line that we're announcing today and will be iterating on over the months and years ahead. And I'm going to turn it over now to Stefan to talk to us about this.
So thank you, Ken. So for a company like Infrascale that for the last 10 years has been so steeped in cloud-based technologies, it really sort of begs the question as to why would a cloud vendor get involved in an appliance? And the reason is, if you sort of step back and look at it, a cloud-based approach to backup and recovery has a number of strengths, and the ones that we all know well, the fact that, for example, you don't have to take care of system maintenance because we do. It's simple to deploy. It's easy to manage. You can manage it centrally. However, together with that comes certain disadvantages in certain use case scenarios. So for example, if you have end user customers that have large amounts of data that can take a fair amount of time to upload up to a cloud-based storage system. And if you need to recover that data, it can take a little bit longer. It also leaves your network or the end user's network. So if you look at an appliance-based approach to backup and recovery, if you have a large amount of data, both backing up that data and then restoring that data quickly if necessary, an appliance can leverage the high bandwidth network that is available on premise of the customer and be able to do that. Furthermore, you have some enterprises or some organizations that have either rules or laws in their country about where that data can go or not go. Some companies may have policies that say the data can't leave the corporate network. Some countries may have rules that the data must stay on sovereign territory. And in those cases, an on-premise approach, whatever that is, makes much more sense. However, if you do go down this path, then there obviously are some things you have to do that in a cloud-based approach you don't. Whereas in a cloud-based approach, we take care of maintaining the system. If you have an on-premise appliance, then the end user or you, the partner, have to do that system maintenance directly. You need to find a space to mount those appliances, whether it's in the end user rack or where not. And lastly, maintaining the, keeping the system updated when new versions and new patches and all that comes out, you have to do that as well. So when we step back and look at this, you'll see on this graphic on the far left, what we internally will call disk to cloud, where we take data from the end user that is on their disk drives and back it up into our cloud-based infrastructure. This is what we have been doing. And on the far right is what appliance vendors, like historically people like Eversync, have done, where they'll take that exact same data and back it up to disk drives on an appliance that sits on the premises of the end user customer. And we think about, well, okay, what if we were to take the best of both and combine them? What if we were to combine both approaches into one seamless solution? What would that look like? And what it would look like is, first of all, you'd have an on-premise appliance that was connected to the end user customer's network and was also connected to the cloud at the same time. That appliance would be deployable either as a physical appliance directly on the network or as a virtual appliance directly on that end user network. It would be configurable in a number of different replication schemes. So for example, in a traditional appliance, you could put a single appliance on the customer network and back up the data directly to the appliance. You could deploy the appliance in a pair of physical appliances where that second appliance serves as a form of redundancy to the first appliance. But in a cloud integrated appliance approach, that redundant appliance could in fact live in the cloud. So you get the benefits of an on-premise appliance with the benefits of the cloud all in one solution. You could theoretically partition what data gets backed up just to the appliance and what data gets backed up to the appliance and further backed up to the cloud in some form of a hierarchical storage scheme for backup. And if you were to bring these things together, what would you want to do? You'd also want to have a common dashboard. Everything that we've done is always emphasized one common single pane of glass to whatever you do. And if you're going to introduce appliances into this kind of a scheme, you'd want to do the same thing here as well. And then lastly, when we think about cloud-based approach to backup and recovery, we think about metering the usage of that technology, typically on the amount of terabytes that we're protecting. And if you were to introduce an appliance into this kind of scheme, you'd really kind of want to think about it the same way. And so really this is what we've come to here. And so you see the exact same table, if you wish, comparison table that I showed on 2 slides ago, here where we're really sort of capturing most of the benefits of each one of the approaches into a combined approach while leaving behind some of the drawbacks of each particular approach. So for example, in what we call a cloud integrated appliance, you're going to pick up the ease of management and central management that you get out of a cloud-based approach, together with the ability to support large volumes of data for backup and quick recovery by having an on-premise component to the solution. At the same time, some of the drawbacks of a cloud approach, data upload times, slow recovery times, those kind of go away. As well as, for example, the remote but still present hardware failure risk that you get if you have an appliance-only approach. What happens if that particular appliance goes down, or if those pairs of appliances on that site all of a sudden are not available? With a cloud-based integrated approach, you have that second place that you can go to recover the data. And so I'll let Ken bring out some of his favorite points on this right here on this slide.
Yeah, so, we've got a ton of questions on the line. We might actually pause after this slide and rip through some of these questions, so don't think we're ignoring them. When I think about, just in sum of what Stefan just said, we've been great at building cloud-based data protection products. We know how to build clouds, design clouds, scale clouds, secure clouds. What the Eversync team had spent a similar amount of time doing is building really fantastic, powerful on-premise data protection appliances designed for high-density server environments. So if you've got a rack with 20 servers in it, Eversync is perfect for that. Whereas the traditional Infrascale solutions were better suited to spread out or fractured data. That's where we really shone the most. So when you merge a company that is great at cloud and you merge a company that's great at deduplicating appliances, you get this disk-to-disk-to-cloud metaphor. And you're going to hear us talking about disk-to-disk-to-cloud as the future of data protection in pretty much every piece of material you see from this company going forward. It's not to say that we won't continue to support direct-to-cloud. We will. And it's not to say we won't continue to support just to appliances. We will. But we genuinely believe that the best data protection pattern is disk-to-disk-to-cloud. You can write massive quantities of data to an on-premise appliance. You can then deduplicate that or dehydrate that down to a very small data payload, which you can then replicate off to the cloud in near real time. So you have the benefits of high-speed recovery over the LAN. So if you go down recovery time and do your RTO and RPO, we can now measure it in minutes instead of hours. We all know that recovery straight from the cloud can take some time. So with disk-to-disk-to-cloud, we have the benefits of a really fast recovery time at LAN speed, but with the resiliency and bottomlessness, to coin a term, of the cloud behind it. And so some other call-outs for existing partners on the line. One of the pain points with our solution stack has been that we don't have a good solution for Linux and Unix. Well, that's no longer true. We now have a fantastic solution for Linux and Unix. So where you had customers that had Linux and Unix environments and you've had to put some other solution in there, you can now simply use the Infrascale stack. Similarly, a lot of our customers and a lot of our partners are more and more overseeing VMware-based environments where a lot of servers have been virtualized and they're not sitting on Metal anymore. They've been moved onto VMware. Well, with this new technology that we're rolling out, we've got host-based VMware backup with all of the deduplication and cloud replication we've been talking about. So even if you've got 30 or 40 VMs running on a VMware box, we can now back all of that up. You don't need to worry about licenses for all of those guest OSs. You don't need to muck around with doing something like installing Shadow Protect, for example, inside those guest OSs. You just configure the backup technology to talk to the VMware host, and you're now set up and that data is protected. So those are some of my favorite things. We've got a ton of questions. Let's rip through these before we go on to the next slide. In the slides ahead, we're going to be looking at some of the more sort of speeds and feeds of the appliance itself and some specs and some pricing. So some of the questions are about that. I'll skip over them because we'll cover them. Some questions. So going back to the security conversation, is double-blind only enabled when the ultra-safe option is chosen? Yes, that's right, Carl. Can we set up payment processing for new clients from the dashboard? There's a variety of billing options there, and if you have a chat to the support guys, they can absolutely walk you through those things. Lionel asks, will this eliminate the need for a backup server on site? Lionel, absolutely. Okay, so let's be clear. All of your customers who have backup servers on site, those are targets for replacement by the new Infrascale appliance, particularly if those, quote, backup servers, unquote, have been sort of jerry-rigged or cobbled together as solutions. This is a completely integrated backup appliance combining both the on-prem hardware capability you need along with the cloud replication that you need to make it truly resilient. Peter asks, how does the issue of speed of backup change when going to disk to cloud versus appliance to cloud? Well, tweaking your question a little bit, when you're backing up straight to the appliance, you can get as much as 1 terabyte an hour of data throughput. No one's getting that in a public cloud, like an internet connection anywhere in the world, right? So the benefit of disk-to-disk-to-cloud as a pattern is that you can back up over your LAN at 1 terabyte an hour using whatever your LAN connection is, these days mainly a gigabit. Now your data is protected, we can then dehydrate that data and trickle feed it off to the cloud. But it means you're protected, right? And it might then take a day, for example, to replicate it all to the cloud, but your backup's no longer running. The backup's finished. The backup window gets shrunk. So your servers are protected, the data is sitting on the on-prem appliance, and then it's replicating to the cloud as fast as it can. Lorenzo asks, are the appliances branded as Infrascale, or can they be customized to our own branded solution for our clients? Lorenzo, the appliances do have a small Infrascale decal on them. Paul writes, we're going to a long question. How do you see Infrascale adapting to cope with the increasing amounts of data being stored natively in the cloud? Paul, that's a great question. Let's mull on that a little bit and talk more about that at the end. That's more of a discussion. Lionel writes, what's the competition? We're going to be looking at competitive appliances, guys. There's a question here from Jim. Can this spin up VM with VMware? Jim, yes, it can. Sunny asks, are there data centers in Canada? Sunny, yes, there are. VMware, does it support the free ESX? If so, which versions? Kyle, great question. The appliances that we're announcing today do not support the free ESX. They only support the paid editions. However, before the end of the year, we will have an update that then adds support for free ESX. All right. So, coming back to the present, there's still a lot of questions on the line, which is great. Keep them coming. We will come back to the question feed in a little bit. But for now, let's bang on and talk a bit about what's in the box, so to speak. What does it cost? Who are the competitors? Oh, actually, I had one more slide. So going back to this platform map, if we now consider, so everybody on the line gets the verbs, the things we can do, but if we now think about the types of machines that we can do it for, historically, Infrascale had been very focused on the Microsoft landscape, not so much down in endpoints where we've always had OS X support and then Android and iPhone. But in server land, we were very much focused on Windows file servers, Windows database servers, Windows email servers, i.e. SQL and Exchange. We are now supporting VMware, Linux, Unix, and actually a long list of other open source operating systems. So what's great about this is it means that when you walk into one of your customers, if they have any needs around server backup, endpoint backup, data archiving, file sharing, or DR, and if they have just about any operating system that's been released in the last 25 years, you can be confident that you can support it with the Infrascale platform. And so this announcement is a really important one because it brings things like VMware, Linux, and Unix into the Infrascale fold that we didn't have previously. Back to you, Stefan.
Okay, so obviously these appliances are going to do all of the, the basic and required functionality, things I'd be able to specify, which files, which folders we're going to back up, to set particular backup schedules for when you want those backup jobs to run, to see which ones have succeeded, which ones need to be repeated, to be able to maintain high throughput rates both on backup and restoration of data, to be able to keep a full version history of the data that's being backed up, and then, if required, being able to roll back to a particular version on a particular date that you want to restore. As Ken mentioned, comprehensive support for the major operating systems. We mentioned, Windows and Linux and Unix and obscure versions of Unix, as well as, for those of you who may have customers who have like old versions of NetWare still lying around and running, this all can be supported. The dehydration, as Ken mentioned, or the data deduplication algorithm that's built into the appliances are a high efficiency algorithm that will dedupe the data anywhere between 2 to 11 times the original data size, depending on what kind of data it is that we're starting with. This is then further enhanced with the fact that the appliances come with solid-state drives on top of the spinning disks that provide for enhanced efficiency in processing the deduplication process. The appliances can be configured in any number of ways. The most basic approach, obviously, is to put one appliance on one premise and have it be the backup appliance for the data that the customer has. A next step up would be to install a pair of appliances where one of them is the active appliance to back up the data, and the second appliance is a redundant passive appliance. You can also configure two appliances, one at each of two sites that a particular customer might have. so that each of those appliances is a primary backup appliance for the servers at that location and serves as a passive recipient of the active data of the other site. You can also combine this in a cloud-based approach where each appliance is a primary backup appliance for the particular site at which the servers live, and each of those two appliances then backs up into the cloud as its passive appliance.
Yeah, and I think, so that's an interesting point for the current partners on the line. I think the simplest deployment pattern here is one appliance per customer that needs this sort of thing with the cloud replication enabled, because that's super simple. For those of you on the line who have your own data centers, you might also then be interested in doing the what Stefan was describing, the active-passive pairs, and then that way you can host the second site in your own facility. So that's applicable for some of you, but I think for most of you, it's going to be about putting these appliances on your customers' sites and having that replicate straight to the cloud.
Yep. And these appliances come with a removable hard drive bay. So for those end user customers that you have where they may want to archive off backed up data onto a removable drive that they then put or store in a physical off-site location, these appliances support that, whether they want to do it because they just want to or because they have regulations in a particular industry that requires them to retain data for a certain period of time or a certain number of years. And any one of these bullets would highlight an end user as a potentially good ultimate customer for this kind of a technology. So for example, if they have Linux or Unix or NetWare or VMware in their environment, this can become a good customer. If they have a lot of data, 10 terabytes of data on their network, and especially if they need to recover that data quickly if anything were to happen, that leads towards an on-premise approach or an on-premise with cloud approach as being a good way to go. If they have any rules around, the data needs to stay on my network, or if they have a country with those kinds of requirements, this is interesting. Another interesting flag is if they're currently using tape backup and all the headaches that come with that, then this is a very easy conversation to open up. And then lastly, and this is true of any backup and recovery offering, and especially true in this case, if you have end users that are in areas that are known to have natural disasters, maybe they're in Tornado Alley in the center of the U.S., or maybe they're in the path of typical hurricanes in the southeast, then these people are already sensitized to the need for these kinds of solutions and therefore good prospective end users for this. This might be government agencies, might be educational institutions, might be financial services firms. All these kinds of companies might make good end users for this. So if you'd like to learn more about how we can grow your data protection business together, especially with this new offering, fill in the form that you see at the link below. Give us your information, your contact info. Let's connect, let's chat about how this can work. And while we're doing that, we're going to offer to each of you that connects through this form a free 1 terabyte virtual appliance that we will work with you to install on your network so that you can get to know this technology while we have a conversation around what's the best way to market it in order to grow your business with the data protection appliances that we now offer. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Ken for any new questions that may have come up, and we'll go as long as we want to go.
Terrific. Thanks, Stefan. All right, so going back to the question feed where we've got quite a few questions. So I'm going to go back up a little bit. So if you've just asked some questions, we'll get to you quickly. Are the appliance branded as Infrascale? We covered that. There's a small decal on it. Jim asks, does this use WAN acceleration? Jim, it does. So both the on-premise block-level deduplication we're doing, well, it's not WAN acceleration using like a dedicated WAN acceleration device. So it's probably more WAN optimization if we're going to be quite syntactically correct about it. But the block side over-the-wire, block-level over-the-wire deduplication that we're doing, as well as the compression and all of the other things that have traditionally applied to WAN optimization of the Infrascale stack apply. We've got another question here from Lorenzo. How do we support the appliance? What is the operating system running in them? Can we use a remote connection tool to connect to the server and connect and service the server's OS? Okay, so inside the appliance is Linux with all of our code running on it. And yes, you can actually have a remote tunnel into the appliance. But more importantly, you'll just be able to go into the Infrascale dashboard, see the appliances, click through to them, and manage them from there. Next question, VMware backup is listed. Is this true host-level backup, or is it an agent-based approach like Shadow Protect? So it's a host-level solution that backs up at the VMware level. When you play with the virtual appliance, you get to see this, and hopefully we'll produce some videos soon, Stefan and Carla, that show how easy it is to do this. But you literally go in, connect it to the VMware host, shows you all the VMs on it, you sort of click the ones you want, you set backup now, and it starts working. It's amazingly simple. And so if you've got a VMware server, whether that's a standalone server or maybe something connected through like a vCenter, you can back up 10, 20, 30, 40 VMs with just a few clicks. It really is very elegant. We've got another question here. What's the competition? Are there other hybrid systems like this out there? Lionel, that's a great question. There are not any good hybrid systems out there. There are some other vendors who are talking like this, but they're they're hardware guys who are giving lip service to the cloud. EMC is the classic case. You know, they'll tell you they've got cloud capabilities, but it's kind of rubbish. So what's interesting with us is we grew up in the cloud, we're cloud native, and now we're adding the appliance line. That's actually far easier to do than if you grow up as an appliance company and then you try and back the cloud into it. So the major competitor out there on the market would be Unitrends, and we put that up on the screen. Not only is the Infrascale appliance, you know, on par or better than the Unitrends appliance in many ways, but it's 70% cheaper, which either translates into cost savings for your end customers or profit margin for you. Okay, where are we at? What's the target market segment for this appliance? The mid-market, as vague as that answer is. But if we look at some of these things that Stefan put on here before, you know, one of the first things you've got to ask yourself is, well, the customer's got to be willing to pay $400 a month, right? So this is not for a two-man business. It's for more of a small business or mid-market customer. And then if you look at these defining characteristics, when we were doing a draft of this slide, I sort of said we really need like a big red "or" after each of these, because if you've got any one of these characteristics, they're a target, right? So if it's a heterogeneous environment with Windows and Linux and Unix or VMware, or they have more than 10 terabytes, or they're quite strict about their RTOs. So we're generally talking about small businesses. This is actually one of my favorite ones, if they have more than 5 servers in a location. So here at headquarters for Infrascale, we've got 40 people in this office. We've got a little server room, and there's probably 10 servers in there. We would be a prime target, you know. So would our other offices around the world, for example. But all the way up to companies with, you know, a couple hundred servers sitting in data centers. They're going to need a few more appliances rather than a single one. But hopefully that answers the question about who's the target customer. Question from Anthony, does this remove Shadow Protect as a product? No, Anthony, it doesn't. Shadow Protect is still happily ensconced over in the cloud-only part of our solution. And so you can absolutely still use Shadow Protect. In fact, you could use it in combination with this. Data centers in Canada, yes, we mentioned that. In Toronto. Can I, as an MSP, brand the portal and the appliance? Sonny, yes to the portal, no to the appliance. We have there's a small decal on the appliance. Does the appliance support Hyper-V? It will by Christmas. In the version we're announcing today, it doesn't. What objections would an IT professional have regarding this hybrid solution, even though it seems like a no-brainer to me? Oh, that's a good question, Lionel. Off the top of my head, I don't know. It is a no-brainer because, as I think Stefan's chart showed earlier, it really does a good job of combining the benefits of both approaches and minimizing the problems. I'd love to hear from you as you take this to market and give us feedback on that. Carl writes, can we make our own appliances like we did with a staging computer? Carl, you can. You'd use the virtual appliance to do that, and then you could put it on whatever hardware you like. Brian writes, can you replicate your other appliances in different physical locations? Yes, Brian, absolutely. So everything's about appliance pairs, right? So you can have an active-active setup, you can have an active-passive setup, or you can just go straight to the cloud. So the cloud is sort of the super simple out-of-the-box replication target, but you can set up more complicated replication scenarios if you want. Okay, where are we up to? Any Hyper-V integration? We will have Hyper-V by Christmas. What about Oracle? We support Oracle today, Brian. Is Windows 2000 and SQL supported? Yes. Does your backup support SQL Server? Yes. Are virtual appliances available for VMware? Yes. Are these appliances going to be available globally? That's a great question, Paul, and the answer is absolutely yes. Does this pricing include the offsite storage space as well? Yes, it does. Can this backup SIF shares? Yes, it can. So the Protects 1 TB includes the appliance storage and the cloud? Yes, it does. Anthony also asks, how long is this pricing to be partner only? Infrascale has been known to always introduce that special pricing. Then some months down the road, now it's available to the public, thereby making it difficult for us partners to be competitive with pricing. This is actually completely wrong, Anthony, and it's our fault because we don't do a good job of explaining it. SOS is our consumer-branded product, and it does about 1/10 of the things that Infrascale's products do. And SOS is available to the public and always has been. Infrascale's products are not. Infrascale's products only go out through the channel. So everything that you saw today is only available through the channel, and if enterprise companies come in and want to talk to us, we will be attaching one of our channel partners to those conversations. It doesn't mean that we won't talk to an end customer, but it always means a partner's attached. For example, in June, one of our customers, one of our partners rather, worked with us, and he did a $400,000 sale using this appliance technology and a bunch of other Infrascale technology, and that was booked on his paper. We absolutely helped him. But the reason I'm saying this is I really, really want to get this message out to our partners on the line. We work with you. We want to sell with you. There's nothing wrong with involving us in the sale. We're not going to take the sale away from you. 85 to 90% of our revenue comes from you, our channel partners. So don't be afraid to bring deals to us. We'll give you sales engineering resources and account managers. We'll fly someone out in the field to help you meet with customers and help you win the business together. But what you see here today is channel only, and we will not be selling it to the public. And that is true of the Infrascale products, most famously Infrascale Backup and Recovery. So with that off my chest, next question. Dave asks, is there an image-based backup? Dave, you can do that mode, or you can just do file folder. Both are supported. Sunny asks, can one have, say, a 1 terabyte appliance at various customers and aggregate it all back to my data center to the 10 terabyte appliance? Sonny, you can achieve something similar to what you're describing, not in exactly the way you're describing it, but yes. So what you should do is call in and talk to one of our sales engineers about that pattern, either Aaron Jordan or Steve Sussman, and they can walk you through how to achieve what you're describing there. Do we pay, Michael asks, do we pay for the cloud storage in addition to this monthly cost? Stefan, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's actually included in the pricing that we've shown you here. When you pay for that subscription, you get the storage both on the appliance and in the cloud.
Okay. Petter asked, what is the OS on the appliance? It's running Linux under the hood, Petter. Sean asked, does the appliance have any ILO DRaaS management type capabilities? It does, Sean. Great question. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, it does have an ILO port built in. Jay writes, can they be monitored by an RMM and a PSA? Absolutely, Jay. Petter also asks, apart from the encryption of the data, is there any other security on the appliance? Like what, Petter? Maybe if you give me some examples, I'll be able to give you a more intelligent answer. Tony writes, does the appliance need to be in the same location as the data being backed up? Not technically, Tony. It needs to be on the same LAN, though. If you had a lot of spread out data, the straight-to-cloud Infrascale modules are probably better suited for you. So more on the LAN. Oh, great question. Jimmy asks, how is this different from Datto? Okay, so if Datto grew up and had real enterprise capabilities, it might look something like the Infrascale appliance. The Datto appliance is incredibly light. It's basically just some low-end hardware with Shadow Protect on top of it. If you're already working with Datto, we would love to have a conversation with you, because not only is the Infrascale appliance priced similarly to the Datto appliance, it is just far, far more capable. It's like comparing a Pinto to a Ferrari. Petter also asks, if a client of ours has the appliance and cancels the service, do we manage the reallocation of the appliance to a new client? Petter, you could do that. Is it easy to wipe clean? Yes, it is. Derek asks, this is a new purchase. How many customers' data is currently protected with this? There are about 1,000 enterprise data centers running Eversync appliances today, and roughly 10,000 servers backing up to those Eversync appliances. So this is, that's actually a really important point. This is a really well-tried solution. It's installed in government, education, financial institutions all across the country. All right, lots of questions on the line. This is great, guys. Okay. Jimmy asks, in the event of a failure, can server be accessed in the cloud via remote desktop? Jimmy, not quite yet. We call that Cloud Boot, but what you can do is you can download the VMDK and you could mount it somewhere else. Brian writes, will the free appliance be upgraded to support free VMware? Brian, yes, it will. Lionel asks, does Infrascale have any contracts with state governments in the US? Almost certainly, Lionel. Many municipalities and cities and police stations and those sorts of things. Talk to your account manager if you're looking for some references. Sonny asks, can the initial data seed by ship from the client side to the data center? Yes, it can. Tony asks, can you have multiple customers on one appliance, or is it one appliance per customer? Tony, you can have multiple customers on one appliance. Again, you probably want to talk to a sales engineer and just walk them through the pattern that you're contemplating and validate it with them. Again, Aaron Jordan or Steve Sussman are great for that. Does this support bare metal backups? Yes. Technical support for the appliance, US-based, warranty. Well, everything's built into the service charge, John, so the warranty is just included. Doug asks, with the HAS model, is the hardware fully covered? Yes, Doug, it is. So it's like what Stefan said. It's like a lease plus a warranty plus service plus a replacement guarantee. So for those of you who've gone through the hassle of buying equipment on lease financing, this is a dream. You don't need to worry about going and get another credit line. You can just click a button in your dashboard with Infrascale and get a new appliance. Lauren, it's globally available. Where does the data replicate to? You'll recall we have 12 data centers around the world, so you've got your choice of replication targets. Andre says, for international partners, what happens if the appliance fails and the parts, e.g. hard drive, need to be replaced? Will the partner have to keep stock of parts for their customers, or will Infrascale be able to FedEx overnight? Also, who pays the bill for parts replacement? Andre, we pay the bill for parts replacement, and generally speaking, we'd be taking care of shipping. However, depending on where you are, you might actually want to keep a stock of parts on site. So most of the time, it's not a problem. But we recently did a big deal in Trinidad. Turns out it takes quite a while to get equipment from the mainland of the United States to Trinidad. So most of the time, we're definitely paying for it, but in some certain locations in the world, you might want to keep some inventory. Ross says, great product. Thanks, guys. Ross, our pleasure. Okay, we're coming to the end. Anthony writes, most excellent. Thanks for your answers, Ken. Seems like you guys have come up with a great solution. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks for asking a lot of questions. Dave writes, can a failed server be virtualized on the appliance? Oh, Dave. Breaks my heart to tell you that not today, but again, this will be available soon. So no, you can't bring back a dead machine running as a hypervisor on the appliance itself. Later in the year, we'll be launching a fully automated cloud boot solution, which will allow you to bring a server back running in the cloud itself. And then we're doing R&D to figure out, can we bring a running machine back on the box itself? Sonny asks a great question. If the customer outgrows a 1 terabyte appliance, do we need to upgrade to another bigger appliance, or can we just add space to the appliance?
Either or both.
Correct, either or both. So we can absolutely upsize the existing appliance in situ, or we can ship you an additional shell that becomes an expansion array, or we could ship you a second appliance.
Part 2, how much of this can this appliance grow? Part of this depends on what is the hardware we initially ship you. Obviously, what we will tend to do is to ship an appliance with a chassis that has growing room in it for whatever you say is the amount of data you want to protect, because we're fully anticipating that whatever you tell us is going to grow over time. And so it's in both of our interests that we could just ship you additional drives when required rather than having to ship you a new chassis.
Right. And so within a single appliance, it goes up to, I think, 176 terabytes. Lionel asks, are there any limits to this solution? Well, Lionel, it won't wash your car, but when it comes to your data protection needs, it's fairly robust. I'm sure there are limits to the solution, but we did a lot of work when we got to, so we first got to know the Eversync guys as we were going to form a partnership, and in the end, we were really fortunate on both sides that we could actually just bring them into Infrascale as a company, and we're all thrilled that that has happened. The reason we were going to select Eversync as a technology partner back when we were was that they really just had this monster technology stack that not that many people knew about that. And we know what that's like here at Infrascale because we used to be in that position. And so it really is just an incredibly broad solution with great support for all of the major operating systems out there and all of the major data protection patterns that people want to pursue. Sean says, does the appliance phone home? Yes, should any of the disks fail, especially in a hardware as a service model. Sean, it does phone home. Derek's laughing at my joke. Derek, our product manager, has recently moved to the East Coast and is joining us remotely, for those of you who are used to hearing Derek.
And it appears to be lonely.
Jimmy writes, what is the term needed for the appliance?
Under a service model, it's going to be 36 months or 3 years.
Got it. But remember, you can buy this not with the service model if you don't want to sign a 3-year contract. More importantly, you should be passing that through. Your customer should be signing a 3-year contract with you, so you should be thrilled about that. Okay, where are we up to? Anthony writes, if we wanted to shift our entire existing Infrascale partnership over to this type of solution, can we roll our existing paid-up contract into this solution? Anthony, yes, you can. You're going to need to talk to your channel account manager about that. But if you wanted to roll all your customers over to this sort of a solution, we'd have no problem with that. Lionel writes, am I correct? If we want to, we can create our own data center. Absolutely, Lionel. Brian says, well done, Ken. Found a great solution that we didn't know we needed. Brian, I'm lucky to have a lot of people around me who are way smarter than me. So thanks in particular to the guys out at Eversync who've built a phenomenal product here. And I'm hoping some of those are on the line today. Jimmy writes, if I currently am doing just cloud backup, will it be hard to upgrade to the appliance? No, Jimmy, but there's no need to rip and replace. If you're doing cloud backup for customer A, maybe you put an appliance in for customer B, but there's no need to go into customer A and rip out what you've already got. Okay. Right. I think we're running out of questions. So John writes, is the pricing different if they are on-premise only?
Yeah, there's a slightly lower price, which is not in this slide deck. But if you talk to your account manager, he can show you the different pricing options. But yes, there's a slightly lower option if it's just on-premise, both especially on the service model.
Jimmy writes, do you have a sample 3-year contract? Jimmy, you should talk to one of your channel account managers about that. But yes, we can do that for you. This is a great question from Jim. Is there a sizing tool for needed storage? 2 ways to answer this question. The first one is, yes, there is. And the second one is, you don't need it, because that's our problem, right? The benefit of HAS, and this is why this is quite disruptive. We have to worry about sizing, not you. So if we get the wrong appliance in the field, we're going to replace it. So the whole sizing conversation around appliances is, because these things cost $15,000 up to $100,000, so you want to make darn sure that you pick the right one. Well, in a HAS model, you don't need to worry about that. We'll ship out the Infrascale 2700, and if you outgrow that, then we'll ship you the next model up. So sizing has always been a critical component of the procurement cycle for integrated appliances. It doesn't need to be anymore, right? We're bundling together the equipment, the software, the leasing terms, as well as the support into one attractive HAS pricing model for you.
And we take on the risk of sizing it correctly and so on.
But if you really want a sizing tool, talk to one of the sales engineers and they can help you with that. Don Clark, do we have any marketing info available? Don, absolutely. If you go to our website and click through to products and go to the appliances section, you get a lot of information. All right. Lionel writes, how much storage can one appliance hold?
It'll go up to 176 terabytes of raw storage data on the appliance itself. And then depending on the kind of data that you're protecting, that could go up to 10 times that amount of data, again, depending on what kind of data it is.
And then Anthony writes, all of these appliances rack mount, any of them tower-based solutions for clients who don't have rack. They're all rack mount, Anthony. Now here's a nice, juicy question. Dave Vernon, I'd love to discuss how this beats Datto's features. It seems to me that you guys are missing some key features. Dave, I'll take you up on that challenge. I probably haven't done a good job today of answering in particular why it's a better solution than Datto. You've got my email address. It's at the front of this deck, and for any of the rest of you, it's ken@infrascale.com. Email me, and Stefan, myself, Derek Wood will all reply back and get you some material. We actually have a 200-row feature comparison for all the major appliances, and I assure you that this is a better solution than Datto. Like anything, if you've got a particular corner case, maybe Datto beats us in that particular corner case. But for example, the Datto solution is just rubbish when it comes to Linux and Unix, right? So just right there, the Datto solution has very, very, very poor VMware support, as an example. I can go on and on and on. So send me an email and we'll have that debate. I want to win you over to this. I want to win you as a customer. So please get in touch. And so we're getting to the top of the hour, folks, so we're going to have to start wrapping up. So if you've got any last questions, please pound them out now and we'll answer them. We're going to have to wrap up here in a few minutes. Paul writes, I've just signed up as a partner in the UK. My clients are all small and will be cloud only. Can you confirm that you're not going to reduce your commitment to the traditional cloud backup? Paul, absolutely not. I mean, we built this company on cloud. Just because we're rolling out an appliance line doesn't change that. So Dashboard will continue to be the heart of our solution, and all of our technologies will continue to support straight to cloud as a pattern. You can look at this as us plugging a hole. We were cloud only, and so for companies, and we had sort of some prescribed best practices that allowed you to do just to cloud, but we couldn't give you that whole stack, and we certainly didn't have appliance only. So now we have appliance only, if you want to do that, and we have two ways of doing just to cloud. The old way, which was Infrascale Core Tech with sort of our recommendations for how to set up this to cloud. Or, if you want to make it simple, you just buy the whole solution from us, right? And we've made it simple at the technology level and at the commercial level. But, yeah, you do not need to worry. Our commitment to cloud is only getting stronger. Anthony writes, can you tell me the speed of the hard disks in the appliance? I can't off the top of my head, but that's a great follow-up question. So if you email me, we'll get you an answer to that. Does it support Oracle Database? Yes, it does, George. Lionel, you guys are evil geniuses. I love it. I believe you just overcame the majority of objections I have faced. Thank you. Lionel, that's made my day. Andre, we have customers in Trinidad asking for a local data backup service, data stored locally. Can we use one of or more of these appliances to achieve this and back up those appliances to Infrascale? Absolutely, Andre. We also have customers in Trinidad, so we should probably join forces down there and help each other out. But yeah, so you can definitely do what you said. And then Jimmy writes, looking forward to upgrading to the appliance. Well, we don't have any other questions on the line, guys, so that's been a really interactive webinar. Thank you for all the questions. Reach out to your channel account managers, talk to them, reach out to the sales engineers, talk to them, reach out to me or Stefan directly if you'd like to. We're super excited about this new technology, as you can tell, so we really want to talk to you about it and get it in your hands, and most importantly, get it in your customers' hands and get you earning new revenue on this technology. Thanks, everybody, for your attention today, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.